Some wishes begin as innocent dreams, but soon, their true nature reveals itself. Once I held that belief close to my heart. What danger could possibly lie within a mere wish, right? A solitary whisper in the stillness. A flicker of hope, seemingly innocent, yet brimming with untold possibilities. Yet, some wishes linger, refusing to be swept into the abyss. Some cling tightly. They nestle deep within your chest, heavy and unyielding, biding their time. On the day of his birthday, my nephew closed his eyes tightly and whispered a wish into the universe, hoping for magic to unfold. That wish, deceptively simple, unraveled the very fabric of reality and set into motion a series of events that would alter the course of destiny. If only I had brushed it aside with a laugh. Regret washed over me as I realized I should have turned my gaze elsewhere. A heavy silence settled in my chest the moment he locked eyes with me and uttered those words. Longing for a connection, I yearned for that one person who truly understands the depths of my soul. A soul who understands the depths of love. Amidst the echoes of laughter, a wave of unease washed over the room. I did not. I was unable to do it, because buried within me I understood that desire had nothing to do with any girl from school. His gaze pierced through the air, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. In that fleeting moment, the very foundations of my understanding of love, family, and boundaries began to shatter. I fought against the whispers in my mind, insisting it was nothing at all. Hold on for just a moment. Only a figment of my mind. Yet, a deep, unquenchable fire ignited within me. It felt like an eternity since anyone had laid eyes on me. Not merely glanced, but truly beheld. He did indeed, and I can't decide what's more terrifying. Whether it was that for the first time in a long while, I felt truly acknowledged, though it made me uncomfortable, or that I found myself uncertain about how to handle the situation. But I knew I had to remain composed. If only I had mustered the courage to say no. Yet, I chose not to. And thus unfolds the tale of the events that transpired as a result of that fateful moment. Subscribe now to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, and immerse yourself in true stories that reveal the intricate depths of the human heart. Believe me, the unfolding events will leave you breathless. Little did I know, Liam's birthday wish would become the catalyst for chaos, unraveling the very fabric of our lives. Yet perhaps the seeds of this tale had been sown long before that moment. I find myself at the age of 38. There were no children, unemployed. The flame that once ignited my marriage has flickered out, leaving only shadows of what once was. Once I was brimming with vitality. I truly did. Once my nights were alive with dreams. My heart pulsed with ambition, and laughter echoed through every corner of the room. Yet life has an uncanny ability to grind you down, piece by piece, bit by bit. The transformation unfolds, and one fateful day, you gaze into the mirror, only to find a stranger staring back at you. Jonathan, my husband, he's not a villain in the shadows. He toils relentlessly, settles the debts. He carries himself with an air of politeness, yet he remains absent. He exists in the shadows, always just out of reach, not at all. We share the same bed, yet it feels as though we inhabit entirely separate realms. He used to touch me as if I were everything to him. Now it feels as though I've become invisible to him. There is no battle to be waged. Void of fervor. Only an oppressive silence hung in the air. We drifted, quietly and slowly, like a boat untethered from its anchor, surrendering to the vastness around us. When I lost my job last fall, a flicker of hope ignited within me, whispering that perhaps this upheaval would draw us nearer, intertwining our lives in ways I had yet to imagine. Yet, it only deepened the chaos. He plunged himself deeper into the relentless tide of work. Endless hours stretched before me, meetings that stretch into the night. Whispers of half-hearted justifications lingered in the air, each one more implausible than the last. Questions lingered in the air, but I found myself too drained to voice them. I was lost in the act of feigning indifference. Then, the sultry embrace of summer arrived. Then, Natalie, my younger sister, arrived to stay for a time, bringing with her an air of anticipation and unspoken secrets. She embodies all the qualities I lack. Vibrant, whimsical, with eyes that sparkled with curiosity. She strides into a room, a whirlwind of sound and vitality, instantly transforming the atmosphere around her. With a determined stride, she entered the room, Liam by her side, a silent guardian ready for whatever lay ahead. 19. Lofty. Strong and agile, whispers linger in the air, gentle and soothing, like a breeze that caresses the skin. Each word, a delicate thread woven into the fabric of silence, invites the listener to lean in closer, to catch the secrets hidden within the soft tones. There's a power in the quiet, a strength that resonates deeply, drawing you into a world where every syllable holds weight and meaning. In this realm, the soft-spoken become the architects of intimacy, crafting connections that echo long after the last word is spoken. He has always possessed a gentle sweetness, ever in awe of the unyielding power of respect. From the moment he could walk, he trailed behind me, his curious eyes wide with wonder, always eager to ask questions and lend a hand. He referred to me as his cool aunt. In the shadows of my childhood he appeared, a fleeting figure etched in my memory. But this time, he had shed the innocence of childhood. He stepped into our home, and with him came a surge of energy that I hadn't known I was longing for. Not merely youth, but an undeniable presence. A spark of intrigue ignited within, beckoning the mind to explore the unknown. The gentle embrace of warmth enveloped everything, a soothing presence that whispered promises of comfort and safety. His smile would light up the moment he caught sight of me, inquire about my well-being. Hold your breath for the response. It's peculiar. The echoes of memories that linger in the shadows of your mind. A fleeting touch, a spark igniting as fingers graze while reaching for a dish. A compliment that hangs in the air, stretching the moment into something electric and unforgettable. His gaze pierced through me, delving deeper than mere sight. I observed, and in that moment, self-loathing washed over me for even acknowledging it. Yet, the reality? It was a sensation I hadn't experienced in years, a pulse of vitality coursing through my veins. With each instance, Jonathan brushed me aside. Each time he faced away from me in the darkness of our bed. Each moment he responded with a distant nod, while I poured my heart out. Liam stood at the edge, a figure cloaked in mystery, his presence palpable in the charged air. And I loathed the way my dependence on it grew stronger. That night, we gathered around the table, the air thick with anticipation as we celebrated Liam's birthday. The grill crackled to life, its flames dancing eagerly in the twilight. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow that painted the sky in hues of orange and crimson. Natalie's laughter echoed through the air, a sound that danced with joy and mystery. In that pivotal moment, Liam uttered the wish that would change everything. It was a mere whisper in the vast expanse of existence, a punchline waiting to unfold, a fleeting whisper in the shadows. I long for the presence of someone genuine, a person who truly understands me, a soul who understands the depths of love. A ripple of laughter spread through the crowd, but I lifted my gaze. His gaze was fixed on me, piercing through the air like a silent challenge. His eyes remained fixed, unblinking. There was no smile to be found. He locked his eyes onto mine, as if attempting to convey a message that transcended the need for speech. I averted my gaze. Yet, a profound change stirred within me. I fought against the urge to acknowledge it. I convinced myself it was all just a figment of my imagination. But that night, as I lay in bed beside my husband, the silence enveloped me like a heavy shroud, pressing down on my chest and filling the room with an unsettling weight. Liam lingered just down the hall, a mere heartbeat away. For the first time, I was stripped of the weight of responsibility, no longer the adult in the house. A sense of alienation washed over me, as if I were an outsider in my own life. I convinced myself it was just a fleeting thought, a whisper in the dark that would fade away. Yet, an unseen force had begun to stir. A line had been drawn, so delicate and elusive, that I could almost convince myself it didn't exist. Yet it was indeed, and I would brave the crossing. Little did I know that Liam's birthday wish would become the catalyst for chaos, unraveling the very fabric of our lives. Yet it truly was. Was it merely a joke, or something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? That was the mantra I whispered to myself. Yet, deep down, it felt far from a mere jest. Not in that fleeting moment. It wasn't the way he expressed it, and especially not the way his gaze pierced through me afterward. We found ourselves outside, the air thick with anticipation. Amidst the warmth of family, the tantalizing aroma of food fills the air, while candles flicker softly in their glass jars, casting dancing shadows that weave tales of togetherness. The air was thick with warmth, a languid summer heat that wrapped around everything, making the world feel drowsy and intimate. The intoxicating aroma of grilled corn mingled with the sharp brightness of lemon zest, wrapping around the senses like a warm embrace. Natalie moved gracefully through the room, refilling drinks with a practiced ease, while Jonathan sat absorbed in the glow of his phone, lost in a digital world as he always was. And then, as if the air had shifted, Liam suddenly spoke the words that changed everything. Longing for a connection, I yearn for someone who truly sees the depths of my soul. A wise soul. One who could guide me through the intricate dance of life and the depths of love. Laughter echoed through the air, a sound that danced like fireflies in the twilight. Natalie hurled a napkin at him, her frustration palpable in the air. Jonathan remained utterly absorbed, his gaze fixed on the task at hand, oblivious to the world around him. I willed a smile onto my face, made an effort to join in the game, yet deep within, a sensation began to awaken. It was an unexpected twist, one that caught me completely off guard. He stood apart, the laughter of the others echoing around him, but he remained silent, a shadow in their midst, stood firm, unwavering, without a flicker of hesitation. He locked his gaze onto mine, lingering for a heartbeat longer than necessary. As the night deepened and the world outside quieted, I found myself in the kitchen. The soft sound of water splashing against the plates echoing in the stillness. The light above the sink flickered weakly, casting shadows that danced across the walls, while the house enveloped itself in a heavy silence. A palpable hush that lingered like a ghost after the last guests had departed, and the night deepened its to embrace. I didn't hear him enter, but an undeniable presence enveloped me. He lingered in silence, his gaze fixed on me, before he approached with deliberate steps, extending a glass from the table towards me. And softly, barely above a whisper, he confessed, "I meant that, you know." I remained silent. I was unable to do it. My hands trembled, slick with water, the cool stream cascading over my fingers. I focused intently on the sink, feigning ignorance to the words that hung in the air. Yet my heart, it listened, resonating with his voice. Unmistakably strong. He held back, silence enveloping the air between them, a weighty pause that spoke volumes. He lingered for a heartbeat, the weight of the moment pressing down on him, before he turned and stepped into the unknown. The kitchen enveloped me in a suffocating silence, time stretching endlessly as I grappled with the chaos that had just unfolded. It was a jest, a fleeting moment of laughter that hung in the air like a whisper, teasing the edges of reality. It was inevitable. He's on the cusp of adulthood, navigating the tumultuous waters of adolescence. I am his aunt. But then the days began to shift, each one tinged with an unsettling sense of change. He began to linger near me, his curiosity igniting a flurry of questions. It was the little things that lingered in my mind, the books that captivated me, the movies that sparked my thoughts, and the question of whether soulmates truly existed. It was far from mere small talk. It was deliberate. He began showering me with compliments that took me completely by surprise. "You have a unique strength, even when you seem tired, that draws people in. Many individuals speak to ensure their voices resonate. You have a way of speaking that makes others listen, a quality I deeply admire." With each word he uttered, I could feel myself teetering on the edge, losing my grip on reality. Initially, I dismissed it. I convinced myself he was merely being kind, that I was overanalyzing every little gesture. Yet there existed a night. Jonathan had succumbed to slumber on the couch once more. Natalie ventured into the night with her friends, the air thick with anticipation and laughter. Under the starlit sky, Liam and I found ourselves captivated by an old movie playing softly on the patio. He positioned himself nearer than necessary, our shoulders grazing against each other. He leaned in closer, a glint of mischief in his eyes as he prepared to share a secret joke. For a fleeting moment, I found my gaze drawn to his lips, captivated by the promise of laughter that hung in the air. But I gazed, and what I saw was even more horrifying. I held my gaze, refusing to look away just yet. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in bed beside my husband, my gaze fixed on the ceiling fan as it turned lazily, each rotation a reminder of the stillness that enveloped us. I convinced myself it was all in my head, a figment of my loneliness, a yearning for desire, a cruel game my mind was playing. But then the night descended upon the kitchen. In that moment, the truth pierced through my defenses, shattering the illusions I had clung to for so long. Was it merely a jest, or something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? That was the mantra I repeated in the depths of my mind. It all changed that fateful night in the kitchen. What is happening to me? Countless times the question echoed in my mind, haunting me relentlessly. With each dawn that broke, an undeniable sensation washed over me. The persistent throb in my chest. A shadow of guilt lingered, a feeling almost tangible, yet not quite there. A murky haze of uncertainty that simmered just beneath the surface. I began to observe the subtle details that had always slipped past my awareness. There was something magical about the way Liam's eyes sparkled with joy every time my laughter filled the air, or how he always seemed to conjure a reason to be close, slipping me something with a casual touch, gliding past me in the hallway, locking eyes for just a heartbeat longer than anyone else dared. And may the heavens grant me strength. A deep yearning began to take hold of me. A deep sense of unease settled in the pit of their stomach, a whisper of something amiss that couldn't be ignored. It was a mistake. A misstep that echoed in the silence, heavy with consequence. Yet, it stirred within me a sensation I hadn't experienced in years, perhaps never before. As I gazed into the mirror that fateful morning, a stranger stared back at me, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. Who was this person I was becoming? But then I gazed deeper into the scene. I became aware of the subtle shift in the way I brushed my hair. Adorned in the dress that embraced my form, it whispered memories of the body I once cherished. She carefully applied the lipstick, the vibrant color gliding smoothly across her lips, transforming her reflection into something bold and captivating. Even if it meant remaining within the familiar walls of home, it wasn't meant for Jonathan. He wouldn't even blink if I stepped through the door in a wedding dress or a tattered garbage bag. Yet, Liam was aware, and I began to feel the weight of my own desires, seeking something I hadn't realized I missed. There was a connection, perhaps too intense, that made me question everything I had built in my life. He stands as an adult now, I reminded myself. 19, nearly 20. In the eyes of the law, there existed no boundary. Yet, on a deeper level, in the realms of morality and emotion, deity, I was aware of the truth lurking beneath the surface. Yet, I was acutely aware of the electric thrill that surged through me when someone's gaze lingered, igniting a spark of connection that was impossible to ignore. To be desired. It wasn't until the sensation washed over me once more that I truly grasped the depth of my absence from it. Each time Jonathan brushed by, it felt as though I had vanished into thin air, invisible to his world. Liam leaned in, his eyes searching mine, and asked how I had slept. The truth of my state lay hidden beneath the surface. If I were happy, those words held a weight far beyond their mere utterance. He truly meant them. To be seen after a lifetime spent lurking in the shadows is a perilous gamble. Without even being aware of it, I began to distance myself from my husband. I would slip under the covers, feigning slumber as the door creaked open, waiting for him to step inside. I ceased my pleas for him to share his thoughts, to venture forth, yet he remained oblivious. Or perhaps he truly did, and felt utterly indifferent. Inexplicably, it only deepened the despair, as I found myself drawn deeper into Liam's orbit. Every glance, every laugh, every small gesture between us began to pulse with life, as if they were the very breath that sustained me. It felt as if I had found air after a long, suffocating silence. Self-loathing consumed me for it. Yet, I found myself drawn time and again, unable to resist the pull. Each time I gazed into the mirror, the fading lines whispered secrets of time's passage. Yet, within the depths of Liam's gaze, I beheld a figure, glowing with an otherworldly brilliance, stunning, irresistible, awake. And then, under the cloak of darkness, when the world had succumbed to slumber, a stillness enveloped the house. there was a sharp rap on my bedroom door. The sudden knock on my bedroom door shattered the silence, sending a jolt of adrenaline through me. It was gentle, a whisper against the skin. Uncertain, yet it resonated with a volume that eclipsed everything I had encountered in weeks. I remained silent. I was unable to do it. My heart pounded fiercely, each beat echoing in the silence, as if it could betray my presence through the door. I clung to silence. My breath caught in my throat as I listened intently to the fading echo of his footsteps, hesitant and wavering. Yet, despite the stillness that enveloped the night, an unspoken tension lingered in the air. Everything had shifted irrevocably. After that, the nights began to elongate, enveloping everything in a thick, shadowy embrace. Liam would remain behind, the house enveloped in silence as everyone else succumbed to sleep. Feigning interest in his phone as I busied myself folding laundry and tidying the kitchen, he would share with me the intricacies of school life, the vivid tales of his childhood, and the bewildering maze that love had turned into in this modern age. And I would lean in, captivated by every word. His words flowed over me, a refreshing stream in a parched desert, quenching a thirst I hadn't realized had consumed me for years. There were moments when we found ourselves on the couch, our bodies pressed close together, lost in the warmth of each other's presence. Near. It was too close for comfort. Our conversations transformed into a hidden realm, a sanctuary just for us. His fingers would graze my hand as he slid the drink my way. His fingers lingered just a heartbeat too long as he passed me the remote. Once our knees brushed against each other, and in that moment time stood still as neither of us dared to shift. Not for an entire minute. It burned like an inferno. Not in a way that feels like a dramatic scene from a movie. Yet, in that gradual, smoldering manner that stealthily ascends your spine and settles deep within your gut. Yet, the silence lingered, heavy and unyielding. Not just yet. It was on that fateful night in the living room when everything changed. The lights flickered in a soft, haunting glow. The flickering images of a movie danced softly in the shadows, whispering secrets to the dimly lit room. A fleeting memory, lost in the shadows of time. It was a facade we both wore, a mask of concern that concealed our true indifference. I must have drifted into a deep slumber. As I opened my eyes, I found him staring intently at me. Not merely observing, but intensely scrutinizing, with a tender, pulsating intensity that seized my breath. I asked, my voice barely a whisper, "What?" He leaned in, as if drawn by an invisible force, and whispered, "You're beautiful." I remained silent. I remained frozen in place. Then he added, his voice barely above a whisper, "I've always wished you were mine." It felt as if the very ground beneath my feet had vanished into thin air. I bolted upright, my heart pounding in my chest, desperately searching for the right words. Yet, my mind was consumed by one haunting question. How long had he been carrying this burden within him? How long had I found myself uncertain about how to handle the situation? But I knew I had to remain composed, hold sway over. I commanded him to retreat to his slumber. My voice cut through the air with unwavering strength, chilling. It was the only choice that could be made. And he did, with a resolve that echoed through the silence, a promise made to the shadows that surrounded him. He remained silent. With a silent nod, they turned and vanished into the shadows. But that night, sleep eluded me. The sight of him standing there, so vulnerable yet so resolute, lingered in my mind like a ghost, refusing to fade away. It lured me in, whispering secrets I longed to uncover. I yearned to erase it from my mind. Yet, I found myself unable to do so. But what if I told you the most harrowing part? My mind began to wander into a realm of vivid imagination. I envisioned the possibilities of encountering him in another era, where fate might have woven our paths together in a different tapestry of time. If only I were free. If he weren't bound to me by blood. As I lay there, the echoes of our conversations began to swirl in my mind, each word a haunting reminder of what once was. His words of praise, those eyes piercing and enigmatic, held a world of secrets within their depths. His laughter echoed through the air, a sound that seemed to weave itself into the very fabric of the moment. As I became aware of my movements in his presence, a subtle tension began to weave through the air. As his gaze locked onto mine, I instinctively tucked my hair behind my ear, a subtle gesture that felt charged with unspoken tension. The journey of selecting tops that embraced my form just right. The air was thick with the intoxicating scent of my favorite perfume. As he spoke, I found myself leaning in, just a fraction, drawn closer by the weight of his words. I convinced myself it was all just a figment of my imagination. He was simply being kind-hearted. I was so desperate for attention that clarity eluded me. Yet, it was no figment of my imagination. It was a finality that echoed in the silence, a declaration that held the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. The distance that once separated us was rapidly closing in, step by step, with each passing day. Yet amidst the chaos, no one seemed to see. Natalie was caught in a whirlwind of activity. Jonathan wandered through the world, blissfully unaware of the shadows lurking just beyond his sight. In that bubble, it felt like the world outside had vanished, leaving only us, suspended in our own reality, in the stillness of our secluded realm. I whispered to myself that I could walk away whenever I chose. I held the reins of my destiny, until the moment slipped away from me. That night lingers in my mind, every detail etched vividly into my memory. The air hung heavy, the light dimmed, and an eerie silence enveloped the world, all poised on the brink of chaos. The evening unfolded like a scene from a captivating film, unbearably flawless. It was unsettling, a chill creeping through the air. A palpable tension hung in the air, as if the world held its breath, waiting for the inevitable moment to unfold, even if you were unaware of what lay ahead. Natalie had ventured out of town for the weekend, leaving behind a silence that whispered of untold stories waiting to unfold. A journey for work, only 2 nights remained. Her lips brushed against Liam's cheek, a fleeting moment that lingered in the air. He tossed me a casual glance. "I appreciate you watching over him," and vanished as if it were all a fleeting dream, as if it were just another day. Jonathan found himself immersed in the bustling atmosphere of a work conference. He hardly whispered a word about his departure. With a swift motion, I penned a note on the counter and vanished for 3 days, leaving behind a silence that echoed in the empty space. In that fleeting moment, it was just Liam and me, the world around us fading into silence. Within the confines of the house, isolated, the rain had been relentless since the break of dawn. As dusk fell, the heavens shattered in a tumultuous display. Thunder rumbled ominously, a deep and relentless growl that echoed through the air, like a hushed warning, barely escaping the lips, shrouded in secrecy. We remained inside. He prepared the popcorn, the kernels crackling and popping in the heat, filling the air with a tantalizing aroma that promised a cozy evening ahead. As I twisted the cork from the bottle, the rich aroma of the wine enveloped me, promising an evening of indulgence and warmth. "Only 1 glass," I whispered to myself, a promise hanging in the air like a fragile thread. Simply to unwind. We settled in for a familiar movie, one we had both watched countless times before. Its scenes etched in our memories. A refuge, a sanctuary, known and recognized. A sense of belonging lingers in the air. Yet, an unsettling tension hung in the air that night, as if danger lurked just beyond the shadows. Just as the movie reached its thrilling midpoint, darkness enveloped the room as the power suddenly cut out. In an instant, darkness enveloped everything. A heartbeat of stillness hung in the air. Then I heard him murmur, "I'll grab some candles," and he did, with a determination that echoed through the silence of the night. He struck the match, igniting 3 flames that danced in the darkness, tiny treasures hidden within the depths of the kitchen drawer. The flickering glow cast a gentle haze over the world, transforming the ordinary into something enchanting. The walls seemed to close in, suffocating the air around me. As the heat enveloped the surroundings, a palpable tension filled the air. Closer and more personal. He edged nearer. Once more, our knees brushed against each other, igniting a spark that sent shivers down my spine. I remained frozen in place. The relentless patter of rain against the windows shattered the stillness, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. And then, his voice broke the silence. He began to unravel the depths of loneliness. In a world bustling with life, there exists a haunting struggle, the profound ache of invisibility. It's a silent battle, where one's presence seems to dissolve into the background, unnoticed and unacknowledged. Each day unfolds like a shadow, where voices blend into a cacophony. Yet none seem to reach the ears of the unseen. The longing to be seen, to be heard, becomes a relentless whisper in the soul, echoing through the corridors of isolation. It's a poignant journey, navigating through the fog of anonymity, yearning for it even in a crowd. The feeling of isolation can creep in. Everything felt so unreal, as if it were all a carefully crafted illusion. The hallowed halls of learning awaited, filled with whispers of ambition and the promise of discovery. In the realm of connection and discovery, where hearts intertwine and stories unfold, the journey of dating begins. Engaging dialogues with girls of his generation, he whispered that no one truly listens anymore. In that moment, clarity washed over me like a tide, revealing truths I had long sought. Revealing truths I had long overlooked. I confessed to him that my heart echoed his sentiments. There were days when I drifted like a phantom, haunting the very existence I once called my own. His gaze locked onto mine, and with a voice that resonated with conviction, he declared, "You deserve more than that. You have always been there." The silence enveloped the surroundings, thick and heavy, as if the world itself held its breath. A silence so thick it envelops you, challenging your very breath to disturb its stillness. He leaned in, the air thick with anticipation, and I let him go. I ought to have. I am aware of that. I should have risen to my feet, turned my back, uttered a word, any word at all. Yet I chose not to. I found myself caught in a moment of confusion, unable to fully process my emotions. As his hand brushed against mine, a strange feeling lingered, one I hadn't experienced in years. It was a moment of connection, as fleeting as it was unexpected. But I knew I had to focus on the bigger picture. The ache I had buried for so long burst forth, unleashing a torrent of emotions like floodgates thrown wide open. It was never meant to unfold this way. Once, I believed I was destined to remain in the shadows, devoid of life's vibrant pulse. Yet I did, and in those fleeting moments I found myself lost, consumed by a haunting realization. I didn't feel like a wife, or perhaps an aunt, or a person who ought to be wiser. A surge of belonging washed over me. Witnessed, adored. In that moment, as his fingers brushed against my skin, the world around me faded into oblivion. The bond of my marriage, my sister, a figure woven into the fabric of my life, stands at the center of countless memories and untold stories. Every instinct screamed at me to halt this before it even began. In that moment, a wave of warmth washed over me, a sensation I hadn't experienced in years, as if the very fabric of connection had been woven anew. But I was desperate to hold on to every fleeting moment, wishing it would stretch into eternity. That night altered the course of fate forever. But I can't help but feel that this was just the beginning. Join heartfelt tales unfold, and ensure you're there for the unexpected turns that lie ahead. The dawn that followed was unlike any other. He smiled at me, a glimmer of familiarity in his eyes, as if the world around us had remained untouched by time, as if the very ground had not trembled and changed beneath us. Yet, I found myself unable to return the smile. Not entirely. Not in the way he had envisioned. The daylight cast a weighty shroud over everything, as if the world itself had taken a deep breath and held it, suspended in a moment thick with anticipation. Authentic. Incorrect. As he extended his hand to squeeze mine while passing the coffee, a spark ignited within me, and I found myself rooted in place, unwilling to pull away. Thus commenced the unraveling of everything they once knew. It unfolded gradually, piece by piece. It slinked in, shrouded in silence and shadows. It creeps in silently, wrapping around you like a shroud, until you find yourself gasping for breath, ensnared in its suffocating embrace. Liam began bombarding me with messages, his fingers dancing across the screen with an urgency that was hard to ignore. It began with the smallest of details. As the sun began to rise, a warm glow filled the room, and a cheerful smiley face greeted the day with promise. Last night unfolded like a breathtaking dream. You haunt my thoughts, an unshakable presence that lingers in every corner of my mind. My gaze was locked on the phone, my heart racing wildly in my chest. At times I would respond. There were moments when I would erase the messages without even daring to glance at them. Yet, no matter the lengths I went to, the guilt lingered, an unshakable shadow haunting my every step. It burrowed deep within, relentless and consuming, dwelling within my very being. And then, with a quiet intensity, Natalie stepped through the door. The moment she stepped through the door, her voice cut through the air, laden with unease. Something feels off in here. A laugh escaped me before I could catch it. I whispered to her that it was merely the weather playing tricks on us, but she gazed at me, truly gazed. The way sisters do when an unsettling truth lingers just beneath the surface, unspoken yet palpable. Liam maintained an air of calm confidence, perhaps a touch too cool. He maintained the same tone, the very same smile. Yet, there was a depth in his gaze, as if he were poised on the edge of anticipation, yearning for something from me. A mysterious sign. A pivotal moment awaits. Yet, uncertainty gripped me as I pondered what to offer him. Jonathan returned under the cloak of darkness that very night. He pressed his weary lips against my forehead, a fleeting gesture of affection, before sinking into the chair at the dinner table, his silence heavy and palpable. But then, halfway through his meal, he looked up at me, his eyes piercing through the air, and said, "You've been distant lately. Are you all right?" I stood motionless. It wasn't just the words. It was the way he delivered them that held a power all its own. He felt no pangs of jealousy. He felt a strange calmness wash over him. His voice was barely a whisper, fragile and diminished, filled with doubt. He was a man acutely aware that something had changed. Yet the elusive nature of that shift danced just beyond his grasp. I confessed to him that exhaustion weighed heavily on my shoulders. The storm raged outside, its fury unleashed upon the world, and all fingers pointed to the tempest as the source of their troubles. The same deceit lingers in the air. It was in that moment that I began to drift into the shadows. I ceased attending family dinners. She halted her presence in the living room where the air was thick with the chatter of gathered souls. Found myself retreating to the kitchen more often, seeking solace in its familiar embrace. Scrubbing plates that were already spotless, steering clear of dialogue, shunning the gaze of others, eluding my own reflection, because everything had transformed. Every glance at Natalie pressed down on my chest like a heavy brick, suffocating and relentless. She spoke passionately about Liam's future, his dreams shimmering like distant stars, his college plans unfolding like a grand adventure. I nodded, smiled, and uttered all the right words, but inside, a storm brewed. Each word pierced through me, a relentless assault from within. I observed him from a distance, captivated by the way his gaze lingered on me when the world around us faded away. At times, I found myself glancing back, yet the chasm that lay between us was heavy with an oppressive silence. An oppressive silence hung between us, thick and suffocating, a chasm neither of us dared to bridge. Just when I believed the storm had passed, when I thought I could let the chaos fade into silence, Natalie stepped into the kitchen one fateful morning, coffee cradled in her hands, and casually dropped the bombshell. "Hey, Liam's got a college tour next weekend. I cannot accompany him. Could you possibly take him instead?" My gaze locked onto her. All I could think was that Natalie had just asked me to chaperone Liam's college tour, and I would be doing it alone. I betrayed not just my sister. I turned my back on my own soul. The words echoed in my mind, relentless and haunting, a refrain that refused to fade away. Under the cascading water, the world outside faded away. Excuses were a luxury that could not be afforded. No tidy words could unravel the chaos I had created, what we had unleashed. And yet, every time I attempted to bury it, to push it down, to pretend it had never happened, his face would emerge in my mind like a haunting specter. Those eyes pierced through the darkness, holding secrets untold and mysteries waiting to unfold. Under the cloak of darkness, the night unfolded. His gaze pierced through me, as if I were a precious gem, something extraordinary in a world of the ordinary. Yet, reality has a ruthless manner of shattering the illusions we create. In the stillness of a college campus parking lot, I found myself captivated, my gaze fixed on the boy who had once whispered that I was beautiful. Now, he smiled at a girl his age, his expression radiating the same gentle warmth that had once ignited a flicker of hope within me. It was a revelation I should have seen coming. He is still in the bloom of youth, strikingly attractive, brimming with vitality. What girl at that age could possibly resist such allure? What could possibly keep him from being captivated by her? Her eyes sparkled with an undeniable brilliance, vibrant. She possessed that reckless confidence unique to the young, an unscathed spirit untouched by the world's harsh realities. I observed him burst into laughter at her words. A moment suspended in time, she reached out, her fingers brushing against his arm. He stood there, watching her slip away, surrendering to the moment. In that moment, a fracture echoed within me, not in fury, yet cloaked in shame. A grotesque, spiraling shame that gnaws at your insides, urging you to vanish into the shadows. I stood there, arms crossed, battling the urge to reveal the storm brewing within me, my face a mask of calm, struggling to suppress the emotions within. Yet, jealousy slithered in, uninvited and insidious, and lurking just behind it, a wave of disgust, upon him, within the depths of my own being, at all that we've allowed to unfold. Could this merely be a fleeting moment in his life? What if it were a world of magic and wonder? What a rush! Did I confuse attention with affection? Was I simply yearning to feel desired one final time before the world turned its gaze away from me forever? I found myself trapped in a whirlwind of thoughts, relentlessly questioning what it was that I truly desired from him. Was it truly love? Or was it merely the mirage of love, cloaked in the tender radiance of being noticed, understood, and yearned for? For when the silence stretches too long, even the most misguided touch can feel like a lifeline, a desperate grasp at salvation. Confession lingered in my mind, a heavy weight pressing against my chest. Confiding in Natalie, embracing the weight of my actions. But how do you find the words to share something like that with your sister? How can one so utterly dismantle another's trust and still hope to emerge unscathed? How do you meet your husband's gaze and confess that your aching solitude drove you into the arms of someone half your age, someone who, in the presence of others, dares to call you auntie? The thoughts swirled relentlessly in my mind. Once more, and then again, this is how I would begin. What I would express. Yet, the opportunity slipped through my fingers. Just when I believed the situation couldn't spiral any further into chaos, Natalie stumbled upon Liam's journal. What choice would you have made? Is that true? I yearned to uncover the truth. Have you ever faced a decision that whispered to you, deep down, that it was the wrong path to take? Yet in that fleeting instant, it seemed utterly perfect. Absolutely correct. It hushed the world around it. Reasoning. Heavy, suffocating guilt hung in the air, a relentless shadow that clung to every thought and action. Rationale. Even love. It was the very thing that unfolded in my life. And so, each day has slipped through my fingers like sand, consumed by the weight of that moment, struggling to unravel the tangled threads of understanding. Struggling to grasp how something so ephemeral could leave a wound so profound. It extends far beyond the confines of my marriage. It extends beyond the confines of my family, yet deep within me. If you're still with me, I urge you to share your thoughts. Have you ever found yourself on the precipice, toes gripping the edge, your heart pounding with a desperate cry, while your conscience pleads for restraint? Share your insights and guidance in the comments below. Somewhere in the shadows, a soul yearns for the solace your words can provide, more than you can imagine. To ensure you don't miss our next captivating story of entwined destinies, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. These tales, they belong to more than just me. They belong to all of us. In a world where love intertwines with regret, temptation lurks in the shadows, and truth reveals itself in the most unexpected moments. Tales unfold that grip the heart and stir the soul. The narrator's voice fell to a whisper, heavy with the gravity of untold stories, each word steeped in the richness of lived experience. Love weaves a tangled web of emotions and desires, each thread pulling in different directions, creating a labyrinth of complexity that can ensnare even the strongest hearts. Chaotic, stunning, perilous. Yet, the agony of traversing boundaries we can never reclaim lingers on. It endures through the ages. Liam took a step forward, leaving the past behind him. Without a doubt he did. He is still in the bloom of youth. The world stretches out before him, a tapestry of possibilities waiting to be discovered. In the stillness of the moment, his image flickers to life in the photographs, haunting yet familiar. Within the digital realm of Natalie's social media, a smile danced across their lips. Brilliant. As if he remains blissfully unaware of the weight he carried away with him that fateful night. Yet, I am aware. For I have yet to reclaim that lost version of myself, the iteration that found solace in deep, undisturbed slumber, the version that believed in the truth of her own reflection, the version that held steadfast to the belief that love and loyalty were inseparable forces, destined to intertwine forever. My choices are my companions now, shadows that follow me wherever I go. Some days hold a flicker of hope amidst the shadows. There are days when, for just a fleeting moment, I lose myself in the haze of forgetfulness. Yet the burden lingers, an unshakable presence. Not at all. I'm sharing this tale not in search of absolution, but to illuminate the truth for someone out there, poised on the precipice where I once found myself. Perhaps, just perhaps, if you listen closely to the tale of what unfolded in my life, you'll find yourself pausing, reflecting on the choices that lie before you, and not onward. In the shadows of our own making, we often find the most profound scars, etched by our own hands.